Breaking news tonight, CNN has learned that after the election, the president's lawyer, Michael Cohen, pitched himself to potential clients, including the pharmaceutical giant Novartis, promising access to the White House on health care policy. This comes after Michael Avenatti's report that the shell company Michael Cohen set up received payments from that and other companies, including a company linked to a Russian oligarch. With me now, former Obama White House ethics czar Norm Eisen and former federal prosecutor Ann Milgram. Norm, I want to start with you. Ambassador, look, we know how Washington works here. We know how the swamp works here. But Cohen is pitching himself, as he puts it, the person closest to the president. Is that just swampy, or is it potentially illegal?
John, thanks for having me. It's swampy. It reeks of swamp gas, and it may, depending on how the facts unfold, be illegal. Depending, we're at the very beginning of this. We're just seeing the tip of the iceberg with the money that poured into Cohen. He has no evident qualifications for any of these contracts. What did he promise people, John? Was he an unregistered lobbyist? Some of these entities have alleged foreign connections. Was he a foreign agent? Were there quid pro quos that were promised? In the transition, he was feet away from Donald Trump. What conversations did they have about future government business? And John, it's not an isolated Michael Cohen problem. This is a systemic crisis of corruption, yes. This exists in every administration and every party, but the Trump gang has taken it to a new level. It starts with the president. He's taking foreign government cash openly at his properties. I have a lawsuit against him. The judges said we have standing on that, representing D.C. and Maryland. We're going to get into that. And it goes like a cancer throughout the cabinet, is what ties together the Pruitt scandal. 11 investigations going on of Pruitt. Zinke, Carson, Shulkin, Price, DeVos, Ross. I mean, it's like the meeting of a mob gang. And where's the congressional oversight, John? Nowhere. And you know who gets hurt? The American people who can't pay millions of dollars to get access to the administration. It is outrageous.
On the subject specifically, though, of Michael Cohen, and the ambassador here raised a good question. What is Michael Cohen an expert in? Well, I suppose you could say Michael Cohen's an expert on Donald Trump.
Right.
And that's what Novartis and AT&T were paying for. And if all the information flowed, and look, you have to sort of squint just the right way to believe it's possible, but if all the information flowed from Michael Cohen to these companies, it wouldn't necessarily be illegal.
Right. I mean, there are questions, and I think we don't have the answers yet, but was he actually lobbying? Was he setting up meetings with members of the administration? Was he representing a foreign government to lobby or get meetings? I mean, we know Novartis, the CEO of Novartis, did have this dinner with President Trump. We don't know. Was that already planned before they hired Michael Cohen?
And is Columbus Novo, in this case, this company with links to the Russian oligarch,
yes,
is that a different legal matter than Novartis and AT&T?
So we don't know, because we really don't understand why Columbus Nova is paying money to Michael Cohen. With Novartis and AT&T, they've both said that they paid him for access. And I agree with the ambassador. I mean, this is a terrible thing that's been going on in administrations, Democratic and Republican, for years. But people are paying literally to get proximity to the president. So we know what they were doing. They were very forthright about it. What we don't know is what Columbus Nova was doing, and what makes us all sort of, I think, really wonder what was happening is the ties to the Russian oligarch who's been put on the list. He's been sanctioned by the U.S. government, is not allowed to enter the country because of Russian interference with the election.
What did this Russian oligarch, or what did this company with ties to the Russian oligarch want from this? What does $500,000 get him? Is it just insider information on Donald Trump? Again, it stretches the imagination. And Ambassador, just one last question on this specific point. We've seen the swamp before, and you can argue whether this is a swampier swamp or not. But the fact that Michael Cohen is selling his access, according to our reporting, as the president's personal lawyer, he's like, hire me, I'm his personal lawyer. I'm not sure I've quite seen that. Is that ethically permissible within the world of law?
John, it's a conflict of interest. For Cohen to be trading on that. I think it raises serious bar questions. Those are the least of Michael Cohen's problems, because he is one of those with Donald Trump. Yes, they drained the swamp and they filled it with the toxic waste of corruption. We'll see whether it's legal. Some of the worst corruption in Washington is the legal corruption, as you know. We'll see whether it's legal or illegal.
But Robert Mueller is not going to be.
Bob
Mueller is not going to investigate the legal corruption or the swamp. That's not his concern. His concern is illegality. And just one more point here. Michael Cohen's bank records. His lawyers are fighting back and pushing against Michael Avenatti tonight with this filing. These are not supposed to be public, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that Michael Cohen's lawyers make a great point on one thing, which is that we should not be looking at Michael Cohen's bank records. This isn't, they were clearly gotten either through a government subpoena or through civil litigation. They would have been protected because that's private personal information. And so, we've all sort of moved to the next conversation about it, but in truth, none of us should be looking at Michael Cohen's personal banking information.
All right, Ann Milgram, Norm Eisen, Ambassador, thanks so much for being here. So here we are, and the one person we haven't heard from in depth in all of this, Michael Cohen. Randy Kay's been looking for him, though. She's out the outside the hotel where he's staying. Randy.
John, we have been looking for him. We think that he's inside here at this hotel on Park Avenue. He returned here about 4 p.m. This afternoon. We saw him returning. That was the last we've seen of him, although earlier in the day we did catch up with him. We were able to ask him how he's doing, and he said he's doing great, and he thanked us for asking. In the meantime, tonight, we wanted to take a closer look at how much contact Michael Cohen has had with Donald Trump since Trump became president.
They say Mr. Trump's pit bull, that I'm his right-hand man.
But if you ask the White House what Michael Cohen is, they're already downplaying his role as just another lawyer.
I'm not aware of specific places where he's representing the president.
But despite the appearance the White House is trying to put some distance between Mr. Cohen and the president, the facts tell a different story.
I protect Mr. Trump.
Michael Cohen had dinner with President Trump back on March 24th at Mar-a-Lago, the night before Stormy Daniels' interview with Anderson Cooper aired on 60 Minutes. Weeks before that, on March 4th, Cohen was also at Mar-a-Lago for an event. Cohen is not a member of Mar-a-Lago and would have needed an invite. On Instagram, Cohen is seen in a photo embracing televangelist Mark Burns, who posted saying he was happy to see Cohen 2 days ago at #Mar-a-Lago. And more recently, on April 13th, the New York Times reported President Trump called Michael Cohen to, quote, check in before Cohen appeared in court regarding his office raid. Again, the White House downplaying the relationship.
The president has many attorneys. This isn't his only one.
Michael Cohen's own lawyer painted a picture of a cozy relationship.
This is not a normal attorney-client relationship. This is much more than an attorney-client relationship.
And before Trump became president, nearly constant contact between the two men.
Believe me, Michael Cohen got calls at 3 in the morning where Michael and I would be at dinner. The boss would be calling him all the time.
So has that suddenly all changed after more than a decade of Michael Cohen being at Trump's side? Perhaps there are only two men who know the answer to that. So Michael Cohen was one of the originals who pushed for Donald Trump to run for president. Back in 2011, he started a website called Should Trump Run? Trump didn't, but then again in 2015, he did push for Donald Trump to run. And as much as the White House has been trying to distance Donald Trump from Michael Cohen still feels very strongly about the president and clearly supports him. He told Vanity Fair magazine that I'm the guy who protects the president and his family. I'm the guy who would take a bullet for the president. John?
All right, Randy Kay outside the hotel we believe that Michael Cohen is staying in. Coming up,